I used to cry every other day. Now I might cry a month. Now I might cry 6 months from that. Now guess what? If I do cry, I miss my husband's on the inside, but I'm able to say, girl, you can get there.
It was like hard seeing everybody else grow up and they would all have siblings and stuff, and knowing that I had like a sister and something. But then over time, I didn't like learn to forget it, but I just learned to live with it.
But inside I was broken because I was using materialistic things to really hide my insecurities.
And cover up
the wound, but not deal with the wound.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it was God's encounter, like, okay, Millard, enough is enough. I was doing what I call prostituting my anointing.
God had to take all of that away from me, humble me to my knees, just to prove to me that you don't need any of this stuff. Me plus none of this is everything that you are ever gonna need in your life. And I learned that on the floor of a jail cell.
I was going to work one day. I dropped my baby off to the child care provider. I got a call that there was an accident, to come straight to the hospital. I got to the hospital and my child was no longer alive.
What do you do when God says no? You know, you don't give up. You definitely don't do that. And he's the reason why we got through the situation, or we're getting through, because I think it's an ongoing process.
Asking God, like, give me strength, like, help me to be strong, trying to keep a poker face, just like, nah, maybe, just maybe. But then once the doctor came, I was like, okay, here we go. And that's when I started, I was going through a guilt myself, and I was just like, and that's when we were just like, okay, maybe there's a beat there, but that's my, my end.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Anissa Reilly, and this is the Ask Dr. Reilly Show. Welcome, because this is my story. So, whatever you're doing, stop, sit down, get your gummy bears, get your popcorn, get your juju beads. Do people still eat that? Well, if you do, get those too, because I want you to sit back, relax, and hear something that may add something more to your healing process. I'm going to take you through my journey of healing from loss to triumph. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reilly. Thank you for being the phenomenal woman that you are. Let's just start off at the beginning. What does loss mean to you?
What does loss mean to me? Now, I can go two ways with that. I could say, I lost my friend, I lost my car keys. You lose something. But when we think about loss, or when I think about loss, I think about something that you had and you no longer have, and it is going to drive you crazy because you don't know where it is. And that piece of moments that you don't have, where you're driven crazy, can sometimes paralyze you, can sometimes get you stuck. For instance, if you lose your keys, you cannot leave the house and you're looking for them and you're looking for them and you're looking for them, and you're paralyzed in that moment. Or there are people who have lost their eyeglasses and are looking for them, only to find out they were on their face. But you were stuck in that moment. So loss is, for me, a moment of paralysis.
Is all loss a bad thing?
I'm not going to say all loss is a bad thing, and I think it's the perspective that you have regarding the loss. So you could lose something that you thought was so dear, but then when you look back, it was what you needed to grow. It was what you needed to move you out of a situation that you were in. And it was just needed because you didn't have the courage, or you didn't have the strength to get rid of it. But then there's loss that does hurt really badly. And it's a soul hurt. Some of my guests have shared their soul-searching, soul-hurting, soul-impacting experiences from their loss. And so, in some ways, it can be good. In some ways, it can be not so good.
Could you give your audience an example of a loss that was not so good in your experience?
Huh. How much time do y'all have? Y'all have y'all juju beads, like I said? Or beans? I don't know, beads, beans, whatever you're eating, do you have them? Well, the loss in my life that I'll share with you tonight is around about 20 years ago. I was a young mother. I have 2 girls, and my youngest was just born. I had the privilege of being one of the individuals in New York City who answered the call of becoming a teacher. During that time, New York City was really short on teachers, and they made a call that if you had a bachelor's degree, come down to the district office, sign up, and you can get a job. And so I was a mother, single mother with 2 kids, and I needed a what? A job. And I had a bachelor's degree from Morgan State University, HBCU. Sorry, I digress. But anyway, so I went down. I was able to get hired as a teacher, and I began teaching. And in those days and in those times, it was easy for you not to keep the job at the end of the year. They would say, you know, thank you for your service, but we no longer need you. But in my case, I got involved in something which caused them to say, thank you for your service, we no longer need you. And I was like, really? I can't come back? They were like, no, you can't come back. And so I found myself in a place of unemployment. So I lost my job. I lost my way of being able to provide for my 2 girls. Not a great place to be, but nevertheless, I found myself in that moment. So what do you do? Well, some people may have hit the pavement and started to look for another job, but I went and I got government assistance, which a lot of people do. So yes, I was on welfare. Mm-hmm. That's what they call it in New York City. You call it government assistance. I don't know what they call it where you're from, but in New York City it's called welfare, and I say it just like that. I was on welfare, okay? And so I went and I got government assistance. And with the government assistance, I was getting cash, I was getting food stamps. I just dated myself with that. So for those of you who don't know, there was food stamps, not the EBT cards that y'all have now, or people have now, or the SNAP cards, or whatever you have, or whatever card you have, but I was getting food stamps. They were little booklets. It was government money in these little booklets. Food stamps, and half of my rent was being paid. Hey, and I had WIC. So I was getting food from WIC for my babies, Similac. Well, I didn't want to drink a Similac, but baby formula. So I had baby formula being paid for by the government. I had food being paid for by the government, and half my rent was being paid for by the government. And I was getting some cash. Not a lot of cash, but I was getting some cash. Then I went to go see my worker one time because, you know, when you're on government assistance, you have to go see your caseworker. And I went to go see my caseworker, and she said, do you know that you are eligible for a program called Jiggets? I was like, Jiggets? What is Jiggets? So she explained to me that Jiggets was a program that the government assistance welfare provided for you that paid for the other portion of your rent. So remember I said half my rent was already being paid. Now I was eligible for Jiggets, so now all my rent was about to be paid, and I was getting WIC, and I was getting food stamps, and I was getting cash with my 2 babies. Ha! Why did I have to go work? Everything was paid for. So that's the start of my loss.
So do you think that the public assistance was more enabling, or was it empowering?
Well, in the beginning, it was extremely empowering because I was able to be an at-home mother. I was a single mother with 2 young children. And in order for me to raise them well as a single mother, I believed, in my opinion, I needed to be home. Now, that is what a lot of women want to do, to be able to be home with their children, because their younger years are their formative years. You want to be with your children. You feel a sense of guilt, a sense of loss if you're not able to be there. And yes, I was in that same place. My oldest daughter, I wasn't able to be with her as soon as she was 6 weeks old. I had to send her to a babysitter and go work. And so now I had an opportunity to be at home with my second daughter and be with them. My oldest daughter at that time was 2, and then I had the youngest one, so I had a 2-year-old and a newborn. And so, yes, it was empowering me. It was empowering me to be the woman and the mother that I wanted to be as a single woman. So, yes, it was empowering.
So loss is a blessing.
Well, in that instance, yes.
Instance.
In that instance, that loss was a blessing. I mean, yes, I lost my job, but I was still able to provide. Well, some of you may say, you weren't providing, my tax dollars were provided. Well, don't forget I was working, so some of my tax dollars were going into that government assistance fund as well. But yeah, I was able to find a way, I think I'll say it that way. I was able to find a way to still provide for me and my children. So in that moment, in that space, it was a good loss.
Welfare, in a way, if you're not disciplined enough on how to use it, will make you say farewell to your own will. See, what this does is, it will say farewell to you having the desire to do for self. So in that mindset, if you get too comfortable and too dependent, you are murdering the force and power, God, within yourself to get out there and work on your own. And when I read the scripture, Moses says, come out of her, my people. Yeah, Jesus says, don't be in the world, but not of the world. And I look at that as, when I'm looking at Pharaoh, Moses was telling the children of Israel, hey man, don't depend on Pharaoh. You know, come out of Pharaoh. Stop believing this is your God. And many of us look at the government as our God. This is who's going to supply my need. This is who's going to help me out. This is what I can go to when anything goes wrong. And we must learn to depend on ourselves, God, the wisdom, knowledge and wisdom, understanding, and each other. And if we don't do that when there's laws that's passed, when there's opportunities that come, that can really maybe be a 6-figure opportunity, because I've been so dependent, I won't even look into it because I'll be scared my EBT gonna go away. I'll be scared my benefits gonna go away. And that's what we don't want. We want us to say, man, let me run to doing for self. Let me run to separation. And when we become so dependent on them, it could scare us away from really doing for self, which could actually make us more money than we receiving.
So if it was a good loss, how would you characterize the loss being a benefit to where you stand now? How did it help direct you in the direction in your path?
How did that loss become a benefit? Well, let me take a sip of water for that one, because this is an interesting journey. So I'm on government assistance, I'm on welfare, and I have to keep saying welfare because it connects with certain people who understand what I mean when I was like, you on welfare. Because I had the whole package being taken care of. From Medicaid to, like I said, WIC, food stamps, all my whole rent was being paid. And I remember starting to really look forward to those moments, just like you would for your paycheck, for the first of the month. Because I knew on the first of the month is when I was going to get my government check, my paycheck. And I call it a paycheck because that's what it started to become for me. I didn't work for anything, but I was getting a check every month. Twice a month, I was getting the government assistance. And I remember when I began to lose myself, because I didn't have to wake up anymore. There was no reason for me to wake up in the morning because I didn't have to go to a job. And at the time I didn't know it, but I started to become depressed because remember I told you I'm an HBCU graduate. I had an undergraduate degree, big dreams. I was gonna do big things. And I found myself in this situation from a loss that I was no longer motivated. There was no reason for me to get up in the morning. I was provided for. And so I remember sleeping, getting up late. My daughter was 2. She should have been in school, but she's 2 years old. She wasn't required to be in school at that age. So she was sleeping, I was sleeping, my newborn was sleeping, and everything was paid for. And it was like a dark time. Like, it was really, when I think about it, it was really, really dark. And that's the first time that I can honestly say that I didn't even know what to do. Like, I've always been this go-getter and strong, and I knew my next step, and I knew the next thing that I was gonna do, but at that moment I didn't. And someone may say, well, you had a degree, why you just didn't get up and hit the pavement and go get a job? And I'm gonna say to you, why does anyone stay home?
But if to a naysayer, right, to a pessimist, or to someone that's disagreeable with that plight, if they were to say, why can't you just, pull yourself up from your bootstraps, and what do you say to someone that says pull yourself up from your bootstraps that does not have boots in that situation?
So if you don't have any boots to pull yourself up by, you probably are feeling the same way that I felt. So feeling sorry for yourself, no one has a monopoly on that. So whether you're in the poorhouse or the penthouse, everyone can dabble with self-pity. Everyone can find a reason to feel sorry for themselves. Everyone can see something about their life or find themselves in a position where they feel stuck, paralyzed, or just don't know what to do. We see it all the time with our celebrities. We think that our celebrities have it all because they have the money, they have the cars, they have the trappings of fame and fortune, and they still find themselves in places and spaces where they're dealing with depression or feeling sorry or don't want to get out of the bed. So no one has a monopoly on it, and feeling sorry or depression does not discriminate. And so if you don't have any boots, then I get it. I mean, yes, I had boots, and I still was depressed. And there's celebrities who have boots, the straps, the manufacturing company that makes the boots, and they're still depressed. And when I was there, I just didn't know what to do because I had my children, and I wanted to be at home with them, and I was being provided for, but I didn't start waking up. I just was sleeping. And that was the first sign, and I was like, something ain't right. Something is not right. And I was losing myself every single minute of the day, and I didn't know what to do.
So if you say that you mentioned something about there's no monopoly, right? There's no one specific way to deal with it, right? Yeah. And if you're dealing, what do you say to someone that's dealing with loss? Well, better question, is there such thing as a bad way to deal with loss?
Yeah, there's a such way as a bad way to deal with loss. The first thing I'm gonna say to that is, if you don't deal with it, that's bad. That means you're not trying to recognize it, you don't deal with it, because it will do damage, more damage to you than you could even possibly think about if you don't even acknowledge it. And then you know, you can drink, that's what some people do, but that doesn't help. It numbs you and it creates another situation, liver damage, alcohol poisoning, or you're numb for the moment and then the problem is still there. Smoke, some people have sex, some people just party all night to avoid, you know, those kinds of things. But what I will say to that is there's a story in the Bible that talks about the prodigal son. And the prodigal son found himself in a situation after he was doing all that he wanted to do. And he was in the pig pen with pigs. And when he found himself in this mess, and he looked around, and he was like, what? The Bible says that he came to himself. And I think all of us have a come to ourselves moment. And it's in that moment of when you have an epiphany, some people would call it, is what will decide if you become successful, triumphant, or pull yourselves up by the bootstrap, as you would like to say. So you have to recognize the moment. And I remember my moment.
So would you do anything different, knowing what you know now, based on the loss that you experienced?
I don't think I would do anything different because that experience of loss showed me something about myself that I am very, very aware of so that I'll never be there again. And to speak to the moment that I was just talking about, because the moment is a part of why I won't go back, I remember I went to the check cashing place. That's where you would get your check, your government assistance check. I went to the check cashing place and they would have it on the wall, the dates. If your last numbers are these, then you were gonna get your check on these dates of the month. So it was my turn to go get my check. And so I waited online, and then I was the next person, and then I was right there at the teller at the check cashing place. And the teller did what he did and was like, sorry, your money's not here. And I was like, what? This is my time to get the money. He was like, your money's not here. And I'm like, what do you mean my money's not here? And he was like, the money's not here. Now, he doesn't work for the government. He doesn't work for the welfare agency. He's just the third man reading the information to give me the money. I proceeded to have this out-of-body experience where all of the depression turned into anger and venom. And I proceeded to tell the man he better find my money, he better get my money, or else I was going to turn up this whole check cashing place. Now, you may look at me and go, not you, looking all cute and sexy. Yes, I know I look good. But the depression had morphed into anger and frustration. And that's what happens if you don't deal with this sometimes, right? And I showed him on the wall, and I was like, you see that date? You see my numbers? My money is supposed to be here. And when I say out-of-body experience, I saw myself becoming a person that I didn't want to be, a person that I never envisioned myself being, a person that didn't, you know, how can I say it? Give time and attention to developing and becoming a great mother and woman. Let me tell you what happened. So after I had this out-of-body experience, everybody's looking at me like, look at this crazy lady. I stopped, I walked out. The next day I got up, made a choice, put some clothes on, hit the pavement, and I got a job that day as a teacher again. The principal was like, you can start on Monday. And the rest is history. And that is why I go so hard, because I know that there's a part of me somewhere that if I don't keep moving, will begin to settle and relax. So I just keep going hard. So when I say that the loss was a great benefit for me, I wouldn't have known that part of my personality was there. I'm either two things. I'm really either lax or I'm like on 100. And so I know I need to stay on 100, because if I'm not on 100, then it's real easy for me to go to a place that's not cool. So it was a benefit, because I'm here today as Dr. Reilly with my doctorate doing big things. So, yeah.
Lastly, based on your loss, the experience that you had with loss, what is your biggest, what strength did you derive from it? Where did you get the strength to deal with it, excuse me?
So my strength,
was it your children? Was it your?
So at that moment, the strength really was about, I don't like who you becoming. Because remember, I said I had an out-of-body experience. And when I was watching myself become this ugly person, I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit. And I was like, that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. And my strength was, you are not that person. You are not going to be that person. And every day is a new day. And every day you can make a choice, Anissa, to be who you see yourself being. And that is what I say to you. Every day you have breath in your body is another day to do better, to be better. A year from now, you shouldn't be the same person you were last year, a year previous. A minute from now, you shouldn't be. A day from now, every day you should be striving to become better, stronger, wiser, smarter, more intelligent, because everyone has gifts and talents to give. But if you stay stuck, then you are robbing the world of what God put inside of you. So the strength came from that, but it's founded on the fact that, as everyone knows who watches the show, my faith in God, because I'm a woman of faith. And because God put it in me, then I have to honor that. I have to. And I was dishonoring it by trying to turn up that check cashing place. If you're watching and you recognize me, tell her I'm sorry. I know it was like 20 years ago, but sometimes you do stuff to people and they're traumatized. So check cash and tell her, if you see me and be like, I remember that lady, forgive me. Please, I'm sorry. That was horrible.
So the one thing we do is dream.
Yeah.
And we talk about it often. What does the OSG Summit in LA mean to you?
Well, being around your people, or what we like to say is our tribe, that can pour into you when you have those moments of uncertainty, when you have those moments that you want to jump off the ledge because leadership and education becomes so daunting and so hard. But being around the people gives you that shot of energy that you need, that shot of adrenaline that you need. So this coming together in LA is just a coming together of that energy, of that adrenaline, of that espresso shot that you need in the morning just to get it going before you crash. That's what it means. So it means a coming together of like-minded people. It means coming together with a tribe. Lions travel in packs. Elephants travel in packs. Right? And you never forget your pack. And so this is my tribe, this is my pack. And we're doing big things together, dreaming together.
any specific practices that you could give advice to in terms of your loss to somebody that, some of your viewers that are watching now?
Well, the first thing is that you have to recognize it. You cannot address anything that you don't recognize and acknowledge, right? So you have to recognize and acknowledge it. The second thing you need to do is get a mentor. So I'm gonna plug right now. I'm gonna plug somebody really cool right now. My mentor, Dennis McKeezy, he is the CEO of OSG and In Our Best Interest, LLC. So if you need a coach, reach out to him. So that's my shameless plug. Well, not shameless, because I am really like, oh my gosh, so thankful that God placed him in my life. Because when you have a coach in your life, the coach sees things that you don't see. The coach can push you in ways that you wouldn't push yourself. He's my coach, he's my mentor, he's my sponsor, he's my champion. And when you have all four of those in one individual, then you begin to do things that you wouldn't even think that you would do. So you need to have a coach, mentor, sponsor. I also want to talk about and plug my pastor, Pastor Dean Brown, my spiritual father. And I say that also because as he began to really push me too, I'm able to stand here. So those two individuals really began to call me on the carpet, call me on my mess, right? They were like, what's that about? You need to address that. And so if you don't have someone in your life who can call you on the carpet, call you on your mess, confront the shady stuff that you're doing, or confront you not being your best self, then it's gonna be a little bit difficult to do it on your own. Because on your own, you've been depressed for so long. But when you have someone who is pushing you and challenging you to be better, to do better, to live better, to eat better, then it's much easier to move. Now, the thing about it is, once you have that person, you have to choose to listen. And you have to choose to respond. And you have to choose to implement. Now, you heard me talk about my two mentors in my life and my coaches in my life. Now, they could have been coaching and mentoring me all day long, but if I didn't choose to listen, if I didn't choose to respond, if I didn't choose to implement, then we wouldn't be here today. I'd still be in the bed talking about, I'm gonna wake up late, I'm gonna do all of this, or I could have just been still teaching and not living my full dream. Because my full dream extends way beyond the classroom. It extended way beyond the classroom. I'm sitting here now living my dream, sharing my story, and still educating, but on a different platform. Make sense?
Okay, I know I said lastly, like two lastlies ago.
It's always,
Just,
always.
We can wrap up with this. I just want to know, what do you tell people that do not have that level of support, that doesn't have that support base and support group around them that have experienced that type of loss? What would you advise them with?
So the first thing, so if you don't have someone to support you, we are in the information age, right? There is access to information like never ever before. People are making YouTube videos, people are on IG being motivational speakers, people have written books, you can get an ebook, you can get, go on YouTube, watch the series like you're seeing right now, and find someone that'll speak to you, that connects with your spirit. I call it the God knower. The who's inside of you, the God inside of you is gonna tell you, yes, that's it, that's the one. So when your God knower says, I need to connect with him, or I need to connect with her, I need to connect with them, then you need to be able to say yes and begin to watch their videos, begin to listen to what they're saying, begin to pattern yourselves after them, because that will help you grow. And I'm going to tell you, when you do that, there will become an opportunity. I'm telling you, trust me when I say this. that you will meet someone that you can connect with, that you can add to your support group. I'm a living testimony and evidence of putting hard work into developing yourself, that I'm able to say that I'm now connected to like-minded individuals who push me, who challenge me, who love me, and I'm gonna break off and I'm gonna invite somebody right now who is a part of my tribe, and he doesn't even know. I'm gonna ask for him to come up here, but he's here, and I'm crying because I'm so grateful that God has placed him in my life. So Akbar, you gotta come up here right now. Akbar Cook.
Yeah, come on. Come on.
What would you do?
So this dude right here, part of my tribe. This dude right here pushes me. I tell him all the time, he ain't gonna outdo me. He ain't gonna outdo me. And support group, oh my gosh, I'm crying, yo.
No. Still starting still.
And you need to have those people in your life. And he didn't know I was gonna bring him up here, but when you have friends and people and family, then you gotta let them know. So I just need to let y'all know, this my dude right here. This my dude, and I'm just so grateful that we are connected. He pushes me. You heard him say, steel sharpens steel, iron sharpens iron, and this right here, I'm just like overwhelmed. Thank you.
Well, thank you, doctor. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
It's obvious that your loss has become, it's abundantly apparent that your loss has become a level of encouragement to others. And we appreciate you. As always, we appreciate you sharing your words of wisdom. You're a godsend, and we thank you.
But before you go, I gotta shout out him. He has a book coming out called Focus on the Love. If you are watching this before February 14th, 2021, then no, you gotta pre-order it because the pre-orders drop February 14th, 2021. Focus on the Love. Y'all don't know about Principal Akbar, you're gonna find out. If you don't know, you're gonna know today. So if this is after February 14th, 2020. Oh, it's on Amazon. Or the official OSG. Focus on the Love. If you don't know about him, you're going to know about him now. So if this is after February 14th, which you probably will be when you watch this, make sure you get the book because it's going to be a #1 bestseller.
Yes, ma'am.
All right?
Dr. Reilly, thank you.
Yes. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. I want to thank you all for spending your evening with us. Hopefully all of your juju beans are gone or beads or whatever you're eating is gone. And just remember that when you find yourself stuck and you're in a moment of paralysis or you find yourself depressed, choose life. Get up. Whatever you need is already within you. Just activate it and you can live your best life. My name is Anissa Reilly, Dr. Anissa Reilly, and this is the Ask Dr. Reilly Show. Peace.
They say if you can make it here in New York City, you can make it anywhere. So next season, Dr. Reilly takes her talents to the West Coast, to the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California. With guests Dame Dash and Raquel Horn, Amen Ra, Brianna Greenspan and Niche Jacko, Tommy Duncan, Taj Moreno, and Columbus Short.
So here we are in sunny California, Ask Dr. Reilly Show on location. It is amazing what happens when you deal with all of your traumas. Whatever trauma you're going through, you work at it, You work hard at it, and look what God can do. I worked on mine, and you know what? You work on yours. The Ask Dr. Reilly Show, coming live and at you from California. Peace.